If you're improving the front porch of a home out in the country, is it still called curb appeal?
You know, it's not the first time we've seen a project that didn't quite get finished, or at least it doesn't look like it, and that sidewalk was one.
Homeowners love a good, straightforward, practical approach to home improvement.
Not every home needs a total overhaul.
That's why we focus on small projects that'll make a big difference.
Oh my gosh, yes!
Chelsea always has some great ideas for homeowners.
And Dad's practical knowledge with his fun-loving attitude is why we've been around for so long.
The most realistic, most current home improvement information you're going to find anywhere. Pretty slick, huh?
Families that improve their homes together stay together.
This house sits on 8.5 acres, and the owners, Michael and Leanne, want to improve their curb appeal, even though they don't actually have a curb.
We bought this place in August of 2001, and I married an equestrian, and she loved horses. She grew up with horses, and this place had some acreage.
Mike didn't know what he was getting into marrying an equestrian because he thought it was feed a horse and go home, but it became a huge lifestyle, and so that's what we do 90% of our time. I'm riding and he mows grass.
It's my hobby. In the summertime, I literally mow every weekend, but you know, I've gotten to where I enjoy it.
The good thing is when he's mowing is I take my horse out and maybe ride 12, 15 miles, come back, and usually the yard's finished.
I will admit, I've been watching this show for probably 20 years. I've been watching it so long that I used to record the episodes on a VCR, believe it or not. And I've learned a lot over the years from watching the show, and I've also learned that I have my limits in terms of like home improvement projects and all that sort of thing. Now, we love our house, but you know, the front of the house, the curb appeal to us just didn't seem to match with the rest of the house. And we just felt like it needed something to make it pop.
It would be a great thing to be able to come home and see something beautiful.
You know, overall, I love the look of the place and everything. Nice big porch. Everybody loves porches, shade trees everywhere, and plenty to see. So what could possibly be on your wish list?
The porch, the front steps, the walkway.
Or lack thereof.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah, that just kind of goes and stops, doesn't it?
Yeah, the story is when the guy had the house built, he didn't have enough money to have a front walkway poured. So he did it himself, and you can clearly see that it was it was a DIY project. It looked like something that probably I would do. To us, it's an eyesore, and it's been on our bucket list for a long time to enhance the look, but we just could not come up with anything that we liked or thought that we could do ourselves. Just not enough hours in the day to...
I got you. Well, there's a lot going on around here. Somebody's mowing a lot of grass around here, and feeding horses.
Feeding horses, mowing grass, trimming fence line, fixing fences.
It takes a lot of work to be a pioneer out on the prairie here. So the white porch, that throws me off a little bit. I'm not sure I have seen a white porch in a long, long time.
We've seen it a long, long time.
Our porch requires painting every 3 to 4 years just because of the weather and the sun. So we've always gone with white primarily just because it's easy and I don't have to worry about, you know, if it gets on the other white portions of the house, I don't have to fix that. And I found out that I was horrible at painting.
No, and we like each other too much.
Yeah, and we wanted to stay married. So over the years, we've just hired it out.
Well, I was thinking a darker color, you wouldn't see the wear and tear as much and people walking on it, and so that kind of helps reduce the maintenance.
And maybe a little bit of contrast too.
Yeah, add a little more depth to the porch. Your front door looks nice. I like that color.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a relatively new addition, but now it's like we got this nice door. We'd like everything else to kind of not take away from it.
Yeah, good.
Well, you know, it's not the first time we've seen a project that didn't quite get finished, or at least it doesn't look like it, and that sidewalk was one.
I'm assuming that the driveway used to be a little further closer, a little closer to the house.
Benefit of the doubt.
I thought these things were patio stones, but it looks like they may have support them in place.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know how thick they are.
It's like man's Chinese theater.
But those are not our footprints or handprints on that walkway.
There are certain outdoor plants that love acidic soil, including azaleas, rhododendrons, and gardenias. And here is an easy way to add a little acid to the soil with coffee grounds. These are used coffee grounds that we've been saving for a week or two. And first you just want to rake back the mulch to expose the soil, and then use a small garden trowel to spread some of the coffee grounds. And you only need about 1/4 of an inch or so. You don't need that much. And you want to go all the way around the plant, just like that. That's plenty. Like I said, only about 1/4 of an inch. And then, of course, you want to rake the mulch back just to protect the soil and keep the weeds down. And now, if you do that, really just for a plant this size, maybe once a month, you'll get a much healthier plant with many more blooms. And by the way, if you don't have coffee, you can also use used tea leaves. Just be sure to take it out of the tea bag first.
Simple Solutions is brought to you by Type Bond, the Pro's Advantage.
Coming up,
It kind of looked like a mop that didn't have the head on it.
He's never seen a mop before.
Michael and Leanne's front porch needs some love, and as soon as we clear it off, we're about to deliver it.
Nah, better not. I've never seen a rocking horse that I didn't want to just mount up and give it a try. I see it has a broken leg.
The difference between a good paint job and a bad paint job is quality paint and proper prep work. We have a lot of work ahead of us on this job.
All right, well, let's all split up and get this porch ready to paint. Why don't you show Leanne about that for any of the flat areas?
This is your friend.
And then I got your little friend here you'll like.
It kind of looked like a mop that didn't have the head on it.
He's never seen a mop before.
Well, I've seen a mop. Never used one, but I've seen one. And I've never used a pole sander. So, you know, he demos it a little bit for me, and of course he makes it look very easy. Come to find out, it's not. It's a lot of work. You can't hit the nail heads. If you hit the nail heads, then it messes up the sandpaper.
You had the manual version, I had the automatic.
And then, yeah.
It wiggles and makes lots of roaring noises, so I sound like I'm doing something really important, but I'm not sure if I'm doing anything because I can't tell. Every once in a while, pick it up, feel around a little bit. Seems to be smoothing something out, so I guess it is working. I don't know.
I had to work a lot harder than she did on that particular aspect of our project.
So Michael doesn't feel left out. We give him the disc sander to tackle the peeling paint.
It worked amazingly well just to kind of flake off that loose paint. You have to be very careful because if you stay on a spot too long, it will dig into the wood.
Right, now that you've sanded all of this off, you've kind of gotten rid of most of the rust, but it looks like you had an ongoing problem with that rust bleeding through.
Yeah, it seemed like every time we would paint, it would look good for a couple of years, and then the rust would just start bleeding through again.
Yeah. Well, putting the latex paint over it is only going to help for just a short time, but using this primer, this actual metal primer, remains flexible so that you don't have all that cracking. Then the 2 coats of paint on top of it, it gives it a little bit of a raincoat against any type of moisture damage. That will keep that from bleeding back through.
Awesome. Sounds good.
If you do it right.
Well, yeah, then there's that. The only rule I was given was from my wife, and that was not to spray paint her bushes. And I didn't do that. I accomplished the mission.
You know, anytime you have this many spindles on the outside, one of them's going to give up and start rotting.
It just gives up on life.
It gives up, yeah. So we found that one.
Just the one?
And a couple others.
Okay, and some friends.
Yeah, and some friends.
Once the rotten spindles are removed, the rails below them are in rough shape. So we mix up some auto body filler to smooth them out. This stuff is also great for filling cracks and screw holes.
Leanne asked if she could help out with the caulking and took the caulk gun as if she had done it 1,000 times before.
What I like about that is if you mess up, you just wipe it off with your finger. But it's kind of like a little form of art. I think I kept going off and on the rest of that evening. I covered as much as I could until Mike told me to stop. It's getting dark and we need to go in.
Early the next morning, John from my construction company joins us to help repair some of the rotten wood. He's using cellular PVC to replace the trim at the base of the stairs, and because this stuff is plastic, it'll never rot. Meanwhile, to replace the missing spindles, I'm cutting pressure-treated lumber down to match the size of the old spindle. Then we match the angle on each end and nail them in place.
The biggest job we have here is to paint the deck boards, but before we get to that, we're going to do some touch-up paint on the handrails. If you can roll the front and the two sides of the spindles, then I'll use the brush to cut in along the bottom.
Okay.
And we'll give everything a fresh coat.
Over here?
We're just going to focus
I'm
on
gonna cut some of these daisies back so it'll be out of your way.
I do expect to see them in a flower vase later.
Oh, okay. See them where?
In a flower vase.
Oh.
So you don't even have to purchase any.
Yeah.
There you go.
I caught that. I don't always catch those hints, but I caught that.
He usually doesn't take hints well.
Just following orders.
But a few minutes later, here he comes with a bucket.
This is the best I could do. How's that?
I really didn't think you would. I'm very impressed.
This is how they've been married for so long. She set the expectation and he met the expectation. I like it.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, I follow orders real well, don't I?
Most homeowners own at least one ladder. So if you're gonna own just one ladder, you wanna make sure it's a good one, right, Dan?
That's it.
What you got right here?
This is a Werner professional grade ladder.
Love it.
It's a big step above a standard 6-foot ladder. We've got steps that are reinforced, double rivets and braces.
So that means it can hold up to 300 pounds.
Bingo.
Which is great.
Yes, it is.
And I also noticed that there's more tread on the steps to make it more slip resistant.
Exactly.
Now what you got going on up there?
Well, most ladders have a place to put things like tools and materials. This one has more than the norm. But it does have a place that is magnetic. So guess what's going to happen to your little parts?
Oh, I love it.
They're not going to fall off.
Oh, I love that. And then when you move your ladder, they're not going to roll around and then fall off. So if you are in the market for just one ladder, this is one ladder you can't beat.
This Best New Product segment is brought to you by the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Whoa! My immediate reaction was, oh no, we just broke the host's foot.
Oh.
Michael and Leanne's porch is looking great, and I've even managed to repair their broken rocking horse.
Boy, sure was sad to see that broken leg on that little horse.
That was sad.
Yeah, so I knew I had to repair it. Yeah. Though I'm not a vet, I did my best.
Now it's time to tackle that sidewalk to nowhere.
So you had your choice between a paintbrush and a shovel, and you chose the shovel.
I did.
Alrighty then. So let's see if these things will be able to be tilted up or not. And John's got that pry bar that we hope will pay off for us.
We basically had to get this big pry bar and pry underneath and then use it as a wedge, and then in conjunction with a shovel and sometimes two shovels to lift it up.
Oh, whoa! Oh, God. Oh.
I didn't see exactly how the pry bar fell. He was saying, oh, I think it's broken, I think it's broken.
Oh, y'all go ahead.
My immediate reaction was, oh no, we just broke the host's foot.
You know, I almost lost my foot.
Yeah, I think you've faked an injury too many times that nobody believed you.
He's faking.
Oh, my boot's swelling up. My foot's swelling up.
He's trying to get out of this.
Oh.
I've seen some fake injuries before in my lifetime.
I think I'll be all right.
That was not his best performance.
Ready?
Wow. 2 swings.
So, Mike, are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm left-handed.
Oh, perfect. This is a left-handed sledgehammer. And what we're going to need to do is to bust these things up, because there's no way we can carry them like that.
Yeah, well, what if I had another idea?
Well, if it makes it easier, I'm all for it.
Now we're ready to paint our deck boards, and not only are we going to change the color, but we're also going to use a paint that's specifically made for this type of project that I picked up at Home Depot.
Behr makes a wonderful porch and patio paint. It's thicker, it's more durable than just a standard paint. It holds up better to everybody walking on the porch. It'll hold up to the scuffs. It'll look better longer, and most important, you don't have to paint it as often.
Oh, what if you fall off the end?
That's fine, because we got to paint that edge anyway. This paint on the handrail, though, will really break up all the white.
I like the lighter gray.
Yeah, I think that
really like the lighter gray.
It looks good with the dark shutters.
Is this gonna go on the stairs too?
Yes. All right, well, before you get too far along, let me paint between those deck boards. See how you can see the white coming out?
When Danny handed me that sledgehammer, that left-handed sledgehammer, you know, I panicked. And in a moment of panic, I was like, tractor.
Yeah, there you go. You know, one thing about living out on the farm, you have lots of toys to make jobs easier, and that was a great example, because if we'd have had to move those big pieces and break them up with a sledgehammer, we may still be over there banging away. Have you heard of Walkmaker before?
I have not.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic. You can put it all together and create as big a patio or driveway as you want, or you can separate it like we're going to do. We're going to separate it, so we're going to use some of that grass in between. So we got 12 squares to do here.
You got someone mixing concrete with a different color concrete, so they had to dye it a little bit so it looked more like natural stone. Once we would get ready to pour, you know, we had to act pretty quickly in terms of getting it out in all the different sections, and then getting it not smooth, but just rough smooth to give it that stone texture. Then we spaced it out so we could allow some grass to grow in between. And after it hardened and then we started putting in the grass, I started seeing the vision.
Once we do a little landscaping, add some bling to the stair rails, and Chelsea decorates the porch, it will be ready for my rocking horse and their guest.
We're almost done with the project here, Dad. Are you getting the itch to ride off into the sunset?
I actually was thinking about saddling up one of the horses. Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Thinking about it.
Where's my boots?
Michael and Leanne have a beautiful piece of property that they share with their horses. But they felt like the front of their house lacked the visual appeal that the land it sits on deserved. The walkway to it was incomplete and unattractive, while the front porch was a sea of dingy paint stuck on the front of a white house. There was nothing to draw you in or make you feel welcome. But now, the front porch is freshly painted, and even though we only added a little gray to the mix, there's enough contrast to give the space some personality. The rotten wood and peeling paint are all gone, and so is the poorly poured sidewalk. In its place is a symmetrically arranged walkway of 12 stepping stones that create a graceful transition to the front porch steps. The porch that once had no greeting for guests now invites you to pull up a chair and enjoy the view. And we did it all for less than $400 in materials.
I love that I can walk up to the house on some beautiful stairs, beautiful colors, and just come right on in.
I think we'll be using it a lot more, honestly, because it looks so much better. It's not an eyesore anymore, and sitting out there when it was an eyesore, it's like, oh gosh, I need to address this. I've got some rotted wood here that needs to be replaced. Rather than having those conversations, we won't be having them anymore.
I'm gonna sit in the rocking chair and I'm gonna have some coffee and watch the sun come up and watch the birds fly. That's what I'm gonna do.
You know, you can't spend a few days out on a horse farm without taking a ride on a horse, right? You know, Leanne and Mike knew they wanted to do something to the front of the house to make it a little more welcoming, but just were not sure exactly what to do and if they had the skill level to do it. Well, I can tell you they have the work ethic, and at this point, they have all the skills they need to do any kind of work on the outside of their house. Hey, thanks so much for being with me and Chelsea here on today's Homeowner. And depending on how this ride works out, hope to see you next week. We'll see you then.